watch the game. It brings out the very best in you. We can all have a laugh and a joke and rib each other, but there's something about cricket and rugby that the game of soccer or football, as we call it, hasn't got. So. Samir, you're back, and we still can't hear you. Oh dear. Try it. Look at the top of your screen. Yeah, I did that as well. It didn't work for me first time either. This is such a shame. I think we're also missing Tuba, are we? Has Tuba managed to join us yet?
Yes, Kazan is joining, and the second person which we have is Tuba. She had an accident and she's not joining. I just received her message.
Okay.
She's doing all right? She said accident.
Yeah, she's fine. She's just in hospital for just checkup, and as soon as she gets free, she might be joining us back.
Well, we need Samir desperately to get some diversity into this all-male panel.
True.
Anyone would think that HR was only made of males?
Especially we are going to discuss the new role. Maybe they will think the new role would be male dominated.
Post-pandemic,
Yes.
new normal, huh?
New normal.
So here we can say now we have hairstyle diversity only, huh?
Ghazal, can you speak? No, we can't hear you.
Hello everyone, this is Vasant. I cannot see myself.
Fantastic.
Okay, so am I audible to you all now?
Yes, very loud.
I think this IT issue shouldn't have happened with me. I'm already a student of IT with Florida, and I'm learning how to bring HR into IT. So I think I should be quite technical with this.
Okay. Students are normally not.
No problem.
Well, you're here now, Samir, so nice to see you.
Okay.
So we are live now. I'm just waiting for Samia to join us, and then we can start the shooting. Samia, we can only see you. We can't hear you. You have to check on the top the view video audio options.
I think she's done that already.
And can you check if your mic is mute on your laptop? Sometimes it happens. I think everything is fine.
How about going without the mic, without the headphones?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
You are.
Finally, after 30 minutes. This is too much. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Samir, we finished about 5 minutes ago, so thanks for your contribution.
I could listen to you all. By the way, that was the trick. I could hear each one of you, but you weren't, listening to me. So you cannot joke around.
What did we say? Did we say anything bad?
No, nothing. You were talking about sports
Oh,
and the
that's boring.
weather.
And the weather. And that was boring too.
Yeah, at least both of them were of my interest. Just kidding.
We talked about hairstyle also. That might be your interest.
Yes, of course it is. Very true. But I guess it might not be of interest to you. Or will it be?
For me, it's history now.
Good one. Good one. Good one. I really enjoyed it.
He has no other option, you know.
Hairstyle, which is in covert ages, this is the most popular hairstyle.
Yeah, easy to manage.
So let's start. Everybody's here. We are also going live on YouTube. So let's start. Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sallallahu ala habibina sayyidina wa maulana Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallam. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Welcome everyone in today's webinar arranged by HR Legends Forum on a very important, very interesting and very strategic topic, the new role of HR following the COVID-19 pandemic. After COVID, nobody realized and nobody thought that after COVID there would be a lot of changes. And with the new changes in business, with the new changes in economy, with the new changes in the entire business world, the role, importance, and the operational aspects and the strategic aspects of human resource department have also changed a lot. Organizations have to, and the HR directors, CHROs, and HR managers, chief executive, they have to understand this new role and they have to make the strategies accordingly. I'm glad we have very respectful, very experienced and very knowledgeable people with us today, joining us from 3 regions of the world, from UK, from Canada, from Pakistan, to discuss about all these strategies and the important arenas of HR in today's webinar. So we have co-host with us today, Ms. Ghazal Sheikh with us. She's joining us from Karachi. She's raising her hand now. I will hand over the stage to her and she will be welcoming all the honorable panelists, our honorable moderator, and she will be also giving a brief introduction of all the panel members. So before that, let me tell you, Ghazal is a very dynamic and emerging HR leader. She has played a very important and vital role in HR fraternity. She is serving HR industry for more than 8 years now. She has worked in banking industry and other corporate industries at various important roles. So let's welcome Ghazal as co-host of the webinar, and over to you, Ghazal.
Thank you so much, Ghulam. Thank you for your kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who has joined us today in this webinar. I mean, taking out and giving your time to someone, I think it's the most valuable asset that you can give to someone. So thank you so much for doing that. And I would like to really start introducing our esteemed members, and I would like you to raise your hand when I do that so that our audience can find out who I'm talking about. Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce Shakil Khan, the HR professional. Presently, he's working in the operational management of a print production unit comprised of more than 65 skilled and semi-skilled staff members. And he says for his everyday, it's like a new learning experience. Okay, after that, we have our esteemed member, Samia Kamar. Hi, Samia. So this is Samia Kamar working as a country HR head for S&P Global Pakistan. She has a working experience of 14 years in different industries, comprises of healthcare, management consulting, hospitality, financial data services. I would like to highlight that recently she was awarded as Exceptional Woman of Excellence by Women in Economic Forum in Cairo. I think which is a leading example for a lot of women in Pakistan. Thank you for winning for us, Tanya.
Clap Emily. Everybody should clap for her.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's kind of an empowerment that women in Pakistan require, and thank you for leading an example. Thank you once again.
But
Then
these
we
women,
have,
sorry,
Yeah, carry on. What were you saying, sir?
No, but these women are being appreciated in Cairo, not in Pakistan.
Oh yes, that's something diversity we need to bring in, and with you only, sir, with HR leaders like us only, we can promote that. Thank you for pointing out that that's something we need to bring.
HR Legends has done its role. We have two fantastic ladies and we have appreciated and we have acknowledged by clapping and also by inviting such wonderful persons on this platform.
Thank you, thank you, Gulam, for you. I think that kind of credit goes to you. Okay, so after that we have Faisal Kamar. Hi, sir. Co-founder and co-founder and managing partner of HRSG. He co-founded HRSG and it has almost been a decade. I mean, who doesn't know HRSG being an HR professional? Okay, by profession, he's a chartered accountant and an HR certified from Cornell University. Thank you, sir, for being a part of our webinar. Okay. Yeah. Then we have our esteemed member Farooq Kader. Yeah. Okay. So he is an HR analyst at Longview Aviation Services at Calgary, Canada, which is the second largest aviation company of Canada. He has an over 16 years of experience with different sectors that includes telecom, manufacturing, and aviation. Thank you, sir, for joining us from Canada. Okay, after that we have our Sir Shoaib Ahmed, who is with us. He is a Chief HR Officer at CCL Pharmaceuticals, which is one of the top 20 organizations. He has worked with Engro Foods Limited as GM HR, Senior Manager HR at Tetra Pak, and 13 years with Unilever Pakistan as a HR and OD manager. Thank you, sir, for taking out time for us. And as Tuba Kazmi is not with us, I would really like to introduce our moderator, Nerval, who is joining us from UK. And he is an accountant and a CEO of MindFit and chairman Your Passport to Grow, who has a diverse work experience and has mostly worked with the oil and gas company. He has a work experience of HR professional and as well as company management experience. Over to you, Nerval, sir.
Thank you very much for those introductions. And I just want to pick up one issue before we get into the depths here. Diversity, Ghazal. I know this is your specialism. Can you just give us a few words on diversity before we start?
I mean, I think I've already thanked everyone for bringing that kind of issue on the table, because diversity is really close to my heart. As a MPhil student, my research is all onto diversity and inclusion. Before I speak something about diversity and inclusion, I would really want to highlight what diversity is. Diversity comes on a forum when there are people with different traits, characteristics, be it race, gender, be it ethnicity, be it religion, be it cultural backgrounds or languages. Whenever in a society there are people with different kinds of characteristics or the things that I have highlighted, they are mostly sidelined. Now, if you take the example of Pakistan, in our organizations, we do not have the issue of nationalities. We do not have issue of religion a lot, because the minorities are almost 13% of the total population. Over here, we have the biggest issue of ethnicity and gender. Right now, the population of Pakistan is 49 to 51%, 51% being men and 49% being women. The population of women in the working organization is only 7%, and 23% are working men. We really need to bring in diversity into our organization in terms of gender. that is already being highlighted. There's one thing that is not being highlighted, that is ethnicity. There's a big issue of ethnicity into our organizations. I think right now biggest organizations have highlighted the concept of diversity, and I think that is a high for Pakistan in itself. But being HR professionals, I would really want everyone to highlight this kind of concept in your organization and try to empower women. So this is all I had to add for the diversity. Thank you, Nirmal, for asking that question.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. And it's really important because pre-COVID, we probably would never have talked about this subject at that level of detail. And my first thanks to Gula, because every panel I've seen he's created on HR Legends has had a lot of diversity in it. So congratulations to you, and long may that exist. Now we're going to get into, we're going to put these people to the test because we've not got very long. This is a massive subject that we need to be covering here. So we've decided to go a little free format here. So I have one question to each of the panelists, and I'm British, so I apologise for this, but Samia, it's going to be ladies first. So you're going to be the first one on the table. And the only one question I've got for you is, what one thing does HR need to focus on as a result of our learnings from the COVID pandemic?
Wonderful. So first of all, thank you so much for giving me this amazing opportunity to be here with you all. Amazing, panel members, as the introduction has very well highlighted, and I'm so glad that I have been able to meet you all. And also, I'm very, very happy to be here and have this platform with all brilliant HR professionals who are going to be participating with us as the audience. I would also like to share a disclaimer, and I think it's important that whatever perspectives or comments or remarks I'm sharing, they are my own as a practitioner, and it's not a representation of the organization that I serve. I think this is super critical to share at this point in time. So if we talk about this pandemic, so I'll be very honest, and again, like I said, how I see there are two functions which have become extremely busy in comparison with how they have been operating before. One is IT and another is human resources, and I'm sure all the professionals here would agree to it. And kudos to all the professionals who scaled up to manage this crisis, to prepare the organization as well as their people to be able to cope up with this change, and which is still evolving because that situation is not over. So if I look at this pandemic, which is one thing, and since you spoke about diversity, that is why I think it is very important to bring it here. It's global in nature. It has impacted. It hasn't impacted any one individual or any one country or any one industry or any one organization. It is universal in nature. It has impacted everyone across the globe, which is why I think it's a huge, huge room for us to be inclusive, and that's how it is treating us, and that is where it's a common problem for everyone. Everybody is pretty much focused on it. So that's the best part I really like about this pandemic. It has brought us to a point where we have started looking at problems collectively, where we have started looking at coming up with solutions that are workable as well as inclusive of everyone. So that's the great thing. Now, if one of the questions that I continue asking everyone, and I'll come to the point later, the question that you have kind of asked me, but before that, I'd like to share that whenever I get to meet people, I always ask them that what is it, like how do they see this pandemic? Do they see it as a challenge, or do they see it as an opportunity? And majority of times what I've heard from people is that it's a massive opportunity out there for everyone. I won't disagree to the fact that some of individuals still believe that there is an opportunity, it's a challenge too, so I won't deny that fact. But if we talk about the immediate ones, like those opportunities that people agree to, it's very simple. The digital disruption and the adoption, which was quite difficult, to be honest, and people thought that if we look at the future of work, it's going to be very difficult, it's going to be a challenge. But that is where I'm going to truly admire this COVID-19 because it was able to enable organizations to have it adopted. Um, those who were adopting it, but still it was at a very smaller scale, and those for those organizations for which it was very very hard, they also kind of changed their mindset. Now, if I talk about as HR professionals, what was or what still continues to be one thing where they are actively focusing on, and for which I truly want to applaud all of them, is that they're trying their level best to stay relevant to the evolving business needs, as well as looking at what's happening within the organization, how trends are changing outside of the organization. So they are making their best efforts to innovate, and that was one of the biggest demands of the business from human resources, to make sure that the business continuity is there. So that's I would say that's key. So if I have to divide it between two broad categories, one would be business continuity, where the focus has been and it still continues to be there. And the second would be managing challenges, having touch points with people in the virtual world, how to make sure that there is a balancing act, where leaders are connecting with people, where they are finding out creative ways to make sure that they keep their people engaged as well as motivated, and at the same time looking at how we can drive growth for the business. And obviously the models are completely different. Companies operating in different industries is also completely different. And lastly, what I also feel is that this was a biggest ask from the entire human resources. So all the functions, like I said earlier, it's a common business problem, it's a common business challenge. All the functions within the HR, broadly, like talent acquisition or talent development or shared services, let's say agile teams, all of them are working together to solve that one common problem. And if I can share from our organization's standpoint, Total Rewards focusing on how they can come up with revised benefits program, such as the provision of utilities allowance, so that people are able to pay their internet connectivity bills, coming up with the IT allowance so that people can buy the peripheral devices for them, that's going to make sure that the business continuity is there. The provision of teledoctor service, so that any member of their families or themselves, whenever they feel like, they can consult the doctors virtually. All these benefits were those ones that were reimagined as a result of this pandemic. Now, if I talk about some of the other things, as an example, coming talent development, making sure that we have manager support network, where managers are equipped with the resources in terms of how to have those conversations with the people, where they have to ensure the flexibility is there, the empathy is there, so they're leading with empathy. So likewise, the list will go on and on. Another function focusing on coming up with a framework and setting a protocol, so that if any employee is positive, is tested positive COVID-19, so how or what needs to be done on behalf of all stakeholders, such as the manager, the people team. So all of this is super critical, and obviously it's driving the results in terms of keeping our people motivated, and then making sure that while everybody is working from home and they are working in the remote setup, how can we as an organization still continue to thrive where the communication is not missed out. So I think every time, that's something that at least I know, I've been working in different industries, and that's one of the asks that HR has to. And again, if I talk about our HR, it's like super awesome. But like I said, I believe I've also had conversations with other HR professionals. They also continue to have the similar focus in one way or another. So these are the things where HR has had and still continues to have that active and most important focus to scale up.
That's absolutely brilliant, and frankly, whoever follows you has got a tough act to follow, because being relevant to the business. What are the business needs? These are words that I hear a lot, but it's really good to hear that it's happening live in your arena, and I'm sure we'll hear more of that flavour as we go through the rest of these guys. So I'm going to go up the middle of the pyramid as I see it. I'm not quite sure who's going to be where on your screen, but on my screen, he just smiled. Shaquille, you was a picked person to literally, you're up the pyramid. So, again, same question, you know, building now on what Samir starts with, what one thing does HR need to focus on?
Well, thank you, Mr. Miller. I think I'm clear. Am I loud and clear?
Yeah, absolutely loud and clear, yes.
Thank you so much. All right. So it was a very brief, but a very smart overall evaluation of the overall global and local strategies that Mr. covered. I just wanted to add a basic perspective, being in HR scholar, that training is the only way out. Whenever we deal with a disaster, even no disaster at all, but we have only one focus in our minds. As HR scholars, our concentration is always towards training. When I use the word training, in fact, there is change management. So training leads to change management. Now, how come we can quantify and qualify? That is another, area. For instance, I will just go back and I will refer to the first introduction by Ms. Razala, I think, and she used the word ethnocentric, if I'm not wrong. Basically, we as HR managers have to qualify the organization at a local and of a global perspective in which ethnocentric or geocentric or regional centric they are. First, we need to classify, and after that classification, then we go for, of course, the training, the training needs assessment, of course, and in the current pandemic and the post-pandemic, I would say that basically we were focusing, or we intended to focus on training on electronic HR. Why? Yes, we went through all this, dilemmas, all these problems of information technology, because in developing world and the developed world, there's a lot of difference in these two worlds. When I talk about developing world, we have different problems. Our regional problems are different. Our HR functions, though primarily are common, but they are executed in a different way. So our focus was to go for the training in the area of HR, training of electronic human resource training. When I talk about electronics, online training, electronic training, then all functions of HR, whether that is requiring, whether it's maintaining, developing, rewarding, tracking, whatever, all those functions come electronically. So in developing countries, we need to focus on training in the perspective of electronic HR, and of course, when I talk about electronic HR, it means change. So in developed countries, if somebody can add into this, or anybody else, like we have a professor, we have a distinguished friends with us, the HR expert, so they can differentiate how come and to what extent and how far they have gone when adopting this online strategy, online, electronic HR strategy. So they can distinguish. As far as developed countries is concerned, of course, our main perspective is we have to go for change management in terms of post-pandemic online HR. So I've just went through just a couple of days that by chance, when Mustafa invited me, I was going through a research of data that has been collected by an HR professional, and I was surprised that people in Pakistan, even through the COVID pandemic and post-pandemic, they had perception that you don't need to go for any sort of online training or electronic HR, because they said that yes, this could be a future. I mean, we can of course go, we do agree, but as far as there are certain I would say technology barriers with us. There are certain limitations to it, but even though the response was not that particular, that they, by the end of the day, they can achieve, as you said in your introduction just a couple of minutes back, that what is important, relevant, how I can be relevant. As an HR, I have to go for, acquiring, I have to go for performance evaluation, I have to go for the most important critical part in the developing countries is how we can basically motivate our company, our people, our staff members, especially the semi-skilled staff. The word you're using is semi-skilled staff, and of course, their focus, how we can put them on the training, how we can, just pull them on the training track. And then The next step is, of course, online training. Then I will use a simple word, technology acceptance model. If I go far, because back in 1967, if you go through the days of HR, the management, technology acceptance model, whosoever talks to you, they will say, yeah, it's fine. Technology acceptance model, ease of use and usefulness, there's new parameters, and if you qualify that, the technology will be accepted and everything is fine on the table. It's very fine on the 0.3, 0.4 or 1.3 impact factor journey as a researcher. But practically, when you ask about technology acceptance, there comes the question mark. Are we prepared for the technology acceptance? So that is why my focus would be, or my suggestion would be, as an HR scholar, first we need to identify, are we prepared for the technology acceptance? And after that, are we prepared to step forward? Not only acceptance, but then we have to implement. So there is a lot of need to work on this. Like Ms. Samia, she explained, if I'm not wrong, she explained the whole scenario of developed countries, their HR acceptance, their interaction. You see, they were working in a group concisely. They were all on the same page. So that's why, for them, achieving the milestone, for example, she mentioned about reimbursement of the bills of internet, of medical connectivity, of telemedicine or teledoctors. These are the basic things that definitely as developed country we do understand. But if we talk about the developing countries, we have a long way to go. So as HR researcher or as an HR student, I personally think that we need to focus on the change management, and that change management will be leading to the acceptance of technology to any model, any given model, which has been successful in our global or HR perspective, and then we can transform or transfer our knowledge or share our experiences to that, so that by the end of the day we are, as Mr. Nabel said, relevant.
I think that's brilliant. So thank you very much. I just want to pick up a couple of things on that training before we move on to our next arena, and I'll give that person a clue. This is a bit like filling the puzzle in here. We're going to skip a couple of continents. So I think hopefully he's listening in and he's working out who's going to be next. He's smiling now anyway, so that's good. Training. There is this joke in training, isn't there? And something around COVID has really brought it home, where the chief financial officer turns around and say, what if we train them and they leave? And the CHRO says, what if we don't and they stay? So in other words, you're absolutely right. Training is the only way out. It's the only way we're going to get change management through. I do believe that the COVID experience of us all has changed the way our large organisations have started to think. Our very senior executives, forced to work from home, are now realising empathy is something really important. We are now zoomed into kitchens around the world and around your organisation, and not everyone has this plantation where they can go to their study. Some people actually work from their desktop, which is actually the kitchen table. And this word empathy has now really brought us into the new world, whatever this new world is. But thank you very much for that, Shakil. We're now going to skip a couple of continents, as I said, and my pyramid has returned. These places keep moving around again. But Farouk, you've come to the top of the pyramid now, so over to you. Again, just what one thing does HR need to focus on, building on what we've already heard?
Thank you, Noel. Again, first of all, it's a disclaimer that it's all about me, whatever I say, nothing to do with my group or company or wherever I work. It's my own experience and learning, and I'm going to share with you. To me, it's very important time and very critical time for human resource and human resource professionals. We have to look for employee as well as business as well. So we have to maintain very fine and balanced approach to business and employees. We have to maintain continuity of business we have to maintain health and safety and wellness of our employees. Availability, we need to maintain communication between employee and employer, between employer and stakeholders. We have to keep track of our accommodation, where we have to accommodate our employees, what kind of accommodation is required, how we can help our workforce to keep engaged, and most importantly, before we go to the different steps and role of human resources, we have to think and evaluate our industry. Are we in manufacturing? Are we in service sector? How we can deal with? What are our available resources? How we can connect different dots? How we can check our pressure? What are the resources available? What are the business continuity plan? What's the backup plan? If second phase come, if second wave come in, what are our different options? If there is any outbreak at our facility, how are we going to deal with it? How we can group our critical people into different groups. If one goes down, how we can bring the other one. How we can closely work with our health and safety, with facilities, with administration to keep all the functions running. How, in case of outbreak, how we can track people, how we can do tracing, how we can reach out to people, how we can manage our business related travel, how we can restrict people to travel outside the country. If someone returns from the different country or different region where the outbreak is, how to isolate it, what kind of accommodation we have. If someone calls in sick, how to approach that person, what kind of questionnaires we have to develop, what will be our second attempt, third attempt, how to accommodate their absenteeism, how to manage our workforce, how to keep available all the resources in terms of human, technology, and all that stuff. And I have learned with this pandemic, companies, they change their IT policies. Companies, they change their IT procurement style. So priorities are getting to different levels, priorities are getting changed, and every day we are learning something new. And Noel, am I allowed to elaborate all of these, or we are coming back to point again?
Elaborate one
Okay.
of the ones that really means something to you personally.
Personally, to me, accommodation is very important at this stage because people are working from home. There are different needs for them. Some of them are having childcare available. Some of them are not having childcare available. Some are taking care of their someone loved one who is sick. There is outbreak at home. Someone is having symptoms. Someone is being tested. Someone is working from home. So all these accommodations, I think, is the top priority for us as human resource professionals, because we have to think from the both sides of the table, how we can accommodate, how we can best utilize that person within this situation, and what will be our role, how we can modify our policies to accommodate these people, and most importantly, what is the impact of that COVID as a person on psychology and all that side. So there are different aspects which I think we need to consider, and to me the accommodation is the most important one. That's why I wanted to focus. Yep,
No,
thank you.
it's really good because, as I said at the beginning, this is a massive subject. Things have changed. You use the word change a lot. Samir at the beginning used the word change. Sakil used the word change. Change needs to be in small letters now. We need not to fear change. We need to embrace it and get on with it. Otherwise, it will actually take over and we'll be left behind. So, as I said, we're only going to scratch the surface today, but just by accommodation, thinking about where your employees, where your consultants, your contractors are, what's happening in their world. It's now become critical to your operation because that one person may be the only person in that department. So we've now had to think of far more in-depth, I call it disaster recovery processes. And in essence, the disaster recovery is no longer the responsibility of the IT department with backups. It's actually far more the responsibility of a CHRO. So as I say, we're now getting into some real interesting terms. We're going to come back now. We're going to come back to Pakistan, and this pyramid keeps changing. So I'm not quite sure where we're going to go next, but I'll tell you where we are going to go. We're going to go to Faisal. Faisal, you're in the hot streak. So we know who's last, but by all means, being last is better than being first. If you could wrap it all up. Faisal, what one thing now, given all of the richness that we're offering out there today, what one thing would you think that HR should be focused on?
Great. Thank you, everyone. It was quite insightful. Everyone shared their opinions. Ghulam has been instrumental setting up these webinars and immense knowledge. And Neville, first of all, to start the conversation, I'd like to formally congratulate you winning the series against Pakistan 1-0. And
I did it all myself.
So on behalf of all Pakistanis, I congratulate you. Second, that we will fight back and we will take this things, in the next tour. That's the commitment from all Pakistan to you. So that's
Challenge
the
accepted. Challenge
yeah.
accepted.
And let's get into this phenomena. What the subject today we have. That's a brilliant subject. What has been picked up. Let's analyze what has happened to us. What happened to us one fine morning, there was a lockdown, and it caught us by surprise, and nobody was prepared for it. And when we were not prepared for it, our employees were also not prepared for it. So at the end of the day, what to do with attendance, nobody knew. How to make the payroll because of the lockdown, nobody knew. Who are the essentials, who are the non-essentials, we never knew about anything and everything. People who have some outsourcing concept in place, they were dancing in the rain, and the people who had taken everything on their head, they were absolutely worried how to manage, this entire situation. Then, work from home, a new phenomena. Keep talking about work from home, or at the end of it, a lot of people like Microsoft and a lot of companies went all the way that let's close offices. And I myself, I closed 4 offices in Pakistan because I was always a commercial man. I always wanted to bring a lot of cost saving to pass on to my clients. So I was very clear that, I'm completely go on with the work from home concept, and we have implemented that for the past couple of years, a couple of months. Now, what is ahead of us? What is ahead of us is abnormal growth. We will need lots and lots of professionals that in HR, we will need lots and lots of vendors. There's going to be a growth which is minus for current year. It's going to go in 5 to 10% growth across the board in the next 3 to 5 years. So we had a disaster. Now we have a growth. Now we need to prepare for that growth. So the thing is, what we should do, as HR professionals. So my pick is the only pick because I'm very clear that in future, if you're not a technologist, you will not be able to survive in this new world. So anything and everything what people are doing, they need to cross that out. If still HR has to call IT for an assessment of an HR tool, I think these are going to be very distinctive what they are doing today and what they are going to do tomorrow. A lot of words, a lot of Sami also mentioned that digital disruption. We all have to transform ourselves, especially from your mindset, from an old sitting desktop IT driven your HR domain to take command of the future, that where you are going to implement those systems on mobile. In the entire process, I have always a complaint with HR. They're only going to talk about, the talent management. They will never talk about employee experience. They will never. Because the enabled HR process is somebody else's job. My job is to see the applicant tracking on recruitment module. They will start with 9 box. You start telling them something that what culture do you have, what kind of performance management you run today, but they will only be happy if they see the succession plan. So the succession is 5 years ahead. So the most important part is that what HR has to change in this process is to take control of the technology. They need to view it, that what technology landscape they have at this point in time, is that sufficient? Because COVID was a great test for everyone. When it comes to biometrics attendance, people were feeling absolutely on the sky that we have a biometric machine in all our facilities. What happened to biometrics? Biometrics is closed. Now we have no track of having attendance. So we never thought of any digitization concepts of geofencing, concept of having mobile as your attendance tool. And we were always scared that somebody will take our data away. So the question is that they have been tested enough to have the right change management and re-transform what they have. It's a great opportunity for Pakistan also, what I believe. What happened to developed countries like US, who have outsourced most of their business, their back office functions, countries like India or Bangladesh, one fine morning it was a complete lockdown. And the thing is, people were not allowed to use anything outside their defined facility. So the thing is that business got interrupted. Now the whole world is learning to have onshoring rather than offshoring. So this Europe has been redeveloped, from people taking business out of India, taking out to their own country, bringing the infrastructure up to date, and bringing the business onshore. So it's a great opportunity for Pakistan also. Second, we have, in addition to technology, the second problem we have, we want to do everything by ourselves. We don't want to give anything to anybody. We don't believe in specialists. We want to do everything ourselves. And at the end of the day, what happens is it's a hodgepodge infrastructure. And at the end of the day, you are doing nothing to your employee. Being a vendor, I asked, every CHRO one thing, that are you able to provide your income tax calculation to your employee online? You forget about talk to me about 9 boxes and everything. Are you able to provide this basic facility to your people? So that's the starting point, that how you're going to change the experience. Even we are still stuck with old way of updating our employees. Tomorrow is 14th August, national holiday, and people with email will see that, and all the non-core people will see it on the board. The thing is, which is piled up, outside their manufacturing facility. There is no way. Things are changing quite dramatically when people are quite smart using this phone. Rather than all the time we are asking them to go on web. The web time is also gone. Now people have to be on mobile to make sure that how things are going to be progressing. So next 3 years, CHRO's role, if they are not brilliant implementers, the thing is, the competition will go in a completely different direction. So technology is my one pick. Second important pick is that it has to be a commercial decision. When you're saying what organization realized during pandemic, when the thing is business was not going well, and when the business going well, people will become opportunist as well. When I say opportunist, means that my business growth is not going down, but I have a good opportunity to slash my workforce. So I come up with an idea, let's kill 30% cut to top 4 grades. And then telling people, we didn't know that we could have run the same business with 30% of the workforce, because this is the new experience for all of us. So at that point in time, HR department has to have the ethical leadership intact in them. They have to be transparent to their employees. At the end of the day, the opportunity is wide open. That you can cut their increment, you can cut their bonuses in the name of COVID. But the most important part is that ethical leadership is an absolute test for HR professionals today. They have to resist that we need to be transparent before our employees, and making sure that at the end of the day, all employees are getting, if your business is down, you take the hit. If your business has growth, you give the fair share to your people. And that in the whole context, being commercial is absolutely critical. ROIs are going to be words where every HR has to be able to grasp, and what cloud computing is, what digital HR is, what enterprise cloud is, These are the curves that HR professionals will have to learn in times to come. If they keep, talking about the outer picture and they don't have the drill down detail of what technology transformation will take place, the thing is things are not going to change. And your competitors they keep getting advantage to it. Just imagine a company, who were absolutely digital in every way, and with a company who was running their tool on a desktop. How different both employee experience were. And if in the post-COVID scenario that HR department don't reassess their technology landscape, the misery will be continued and they will never be prepared for the next pandemic or the next pandemic, God forbid. But at the end of the day, employee experience will remain the same. So to me, they need to be commercial. Second, they need to be technologists. And third, they have to put their foot down when it comes to ethical leadership. Neville, I think that's it from my side.
Great.
I feel as though I need to do a bit of this really and say thank you because yes, exactly, show. Because what we're now delving into is the role of HR has now got to expand. No more can it be narrowly defined as Mr. or Miss Compliance. It now needs to expand itself into the organisation. And this term, I hear this term a lot, I'd like to believe it happens, ethical leadership. Now, when an organisation, the chief exec says, we're all in this together, and then the first group that are cut doesn't include any of the C-suite, none of the senior management team, and it's all the people that are delivering the product, then you realise that actually maybe I should be working for somebody else, because quite clearly ethical leadership is not in that person's criteria. And the interesting thing is we can see this. We don't have to go very far to experience it. We can see it. And when you can see it and it's happening, you better start to believe it, because that is what's going to happen in that organisation. So, Farooq, thank you. It's really exploded this discussion to almost another level. We're moving towards Saturn, I think, with this discussion now, which is fantastic. And now we're going to come back to what looked like the bottom of the pyramid at the beginning, but now he's gone to the top of the pyramid. So, Shoaib, you've heard what everyone's had to say here. You've now got your opportunity to say what one thing, outside of the risk management, the risk taking, the inclusion, the change management, being digital, what one thing do you think we should be focused on?
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and a wonderful contribution by every participant, and very enlightening. So I will be talking I will be starting that the financial. We remember that financial crisis of 2008. Then after that, CFO and finance department has suddenly become very important in the organization. Now after 2020, this COVID, so now it is the CHRO, it is the HR head's role, which has suddenly become important in the C-suite, at the leadership level, at all level in the organization, right? So this is a very challenging and demanding time for HR leaders. So coming back on that thing also, if we look at that, okay, so now what we are going, what is expected from us, or what one thing is for HR is working. During this period, I have taken in part in many surveys also, gone through a number of articles, and you people have also gone through that one, but discussions, webinars, and participation in seminar in different surveys, I came to know that maybe the new HR will be the director well-being. The new HR will maybe the facilitator for work from home. The new HR may be director for business behaviors. The new HR may be the HR data expert. So these are the different skills or different roles which still need to be defined for HR, so that so that is evolving. For me, if I come to my organization or within Pakistan, honestly, as Faisal said, for us, for a pharmaceutical, it has not changed much in a way that yes, at workplace, it has changed. It has changed. So, and our prime focus is on two things. One is driving our core values behavior. In CCL, we say it's a rewarding workplace and people-centric. And this our culture statement is with us since last 3 years, and we are working on it. That are all policies, or all initiatives, are all practices, are all improvements in facilities will be people-centric. So suddenly, this well-being of people and safety of people has become a prime responsibility and prime focus for the organization. So our people are coming to their manufacturing places, our people are coming to their offices, but what we are doing is we are taking care of their well-being, their health, their safety, and a long list of initiatives which we have taken during this time. So it's a challenging time. It's a time for HR to lead from the front and be responsible and stay as a champion of people. So that's from my side. Thank you.
That's absolutely fantastic. And if I can sort of add to that, I mean, I was hoping that someone might reference the previous pandemic, the financial crisis. You know, being a finance guy, it hit me like a sledgehammer on the front of my head to believe that could come along. We were totally unprepared for it, and you're absolutely right, Shay. That was the day of finance. The CFO in organisations all of a sudden became the one to listen to.
Yeah.
Organisations were taking in more and more very senior finance professionals. No longer did you have to worry about which advisor you were taking. It's a question of how much you were paying them, whether you're getting value for money. But I do believe you're absolutely right. The day of the CHRO has now arrived. And I was fortunate enough to meet someone called Bill McDermott, who was the CEO of SAP, big global group. And they had something called Success Factors.
Yeah.
And there was a roundtable discussion. And this was in confidence, but now I'm breaking those. But he's not there anymore, so that's fine. He's left in confidence. And I said, who's going to be your successor? Now, bear in mind, this is about 3 years ago now. And he said it will be a CHRO. It won't be someone with a finance background. It will be someone with a knowledge of finance, but it will be a CHRO. Companies will be led by people. So I think it just reinforces that, and COVID now has given us all of that opportunity. I'm very conscious of time. We were told that this would run for an hour, but I'd like to hand it back to each of the panelists. Now, having heard subsequently what everyone else has said, would anybody like to add any closing remarks about where the HR roles should go? And that could be, I agree with Samir, I agree with Farouk, or what. And I do believe these are your personal views, so here's the disclaimer. These are my personal views too. So who would like to jump in? You know, maybe Samir, you went first. So you've now heard everybody else. Anything you'd like to add before we close this event? Oh, we can't hear you. You must have muted yourself.
Yeah.
Well done. We can hear you now.
Can you rewind? Yeah, please carry on, Samia.
Samia, have you unmuted?
No, she's muted herself again. Samia.
Yeah. Okay, let me write it to her.
If we are using the Teams app, then there is a facility to unmute others also. I think that facility is not here.
No, I don't think so. Samia, can we hear you now?
Samia is unmuted. Let's go to others. Maybe let's move to Canada.
Yeah, let's move to Canada. any further thoughts, having heard all of this tremendous insight that we've had today?
Yeah, I would just like to add a couple of things here. One of the question is sitting here that whether this how important is IT and stuff. IT was always important for any business. But the thing is now importance of IT is more, and I think instead of in-house, more of the companies will go to cloud-based so that availability and connectivity stay the same. Whether you are at work, you are at home, or any part of the work, connectivity stays same. And second thing is all the human resources department and professionals, they need to start planning because schools are opening up, kids will go to school, that will be multiplier to this spread. I hope I'm wrong, but that is what it is. So we need to plan for those things and how to react in those situations. So these are two cents from my side. Thank you.
You're absolutely right there, Farooq, because it's the knock-on effect now. It's not just your employee, it's their family arena, whether they have children, schools will be opening up. We're having to think ahead far more than we ever had to think ahead before, which is going to be challenging. So, how about let's go to Shakir.
Sir. All right. Lot of been said, and I will just sum up with a few suggestions as a scholar. One is we need to train our people on disasters management.
Yep.
Because we have just heard of disasters management, we don't know actually what could be the steps, the strategy, how to understand, how to communicate during, before, and post disaster. So first we need to put this on our agenda of training. What is disaster? How do we cope up with disaster? How do we classify with the disasters? Then we can of course put this into our our books, our manuals, because the strategic investment in that, as the head of the CCL said earlier, and we have endorsed it, that the future is of CHRM. The most important aspect would be how we can train people on disaster management. That disasters would be, it's an umbrella, as the words are concerned. But if we go down to this umbrella, we have technological disasters, we have health disasters, we have, undefined disasters like this COVID pandemic. So it went on like this. So first we need to train on disaster management. We have to include the profiling of disasters in our, documentation of HR. And last but not least, we have to, just like Mr. Faisal said, I will second his thought, of course, we have, rather, you use the word accommodating, I'll use the word human, I'll use the word sharing, I use the word active listener. We were active listeners, and in our history, I have seen people of any region, whenever they went by active listening, they went for conflict management, either with themselves, either within the organization, either within the groups, or within the entities. So I would just add on by this that we have to learn a lot in management of disaster. We have to equip ourselves, and we have to make people on board. Yes, the Mr. Head of the CCL said that, and you also said that we are all in together. That was the notion by top managers a couple of years back. Now we have realized, yes, we are all in this. And when once we are all in this, the ethical dilemmas are gone. Of course, we have to eliminate safety. Once we will have the disaster management, we will all be receiving those training, all be receiving those perceptions about how to manage the environment. And I think that is the limited one.
Thank you very much. Faisal, your name came up in vain in that particular comment, so last few words from yourself.
Yeah, my last, my two pennies, as we all aligned on that, great times are about to come. And for HR professionals, they're going to be brilliant time. We have passed the pandemic, and as vendor, I'll just share you one example. When we put up Enterprise Cloud 10 years ago, everyone told me that you are absolutely crazy, that in Pakistan you're thinking about cloud in 2008 recession. What do you do? And when 4 years ago I launched my mobile app, and everyone was telling me that you have gone further, on the same route, and it's not going to happen in Pakistan. It's a different country, so you better hold on to your, crazy plans. What happened today is what I have in my R&D team. What I'm investing, and I'm going all out to have my enterprise cloud web interface 100% into the digital app, because I believe that this is going to be the winner for future. The thing is, people, the way I'm very clear that in times to come there are going to be no laptops, because if you see Apple 5 to Apple 10, the sizes keep increasing, and if you see, there's going to be desktop world and there's going to be the smartphone world. There's going to be no laptops in between in times to come, and in future there will be no whatsoever. They're not going to be your extension 102. There's going to be all WhatsApp kind of a communication tools you will have with all HRMS available, and there's no biometric kind of a thing. Your smartphone is going to be biometric. So these things are not something which we are talking are going to come. They have come, and what we need to do in transforming your organization is to benchmark. Benchmark is the word to go with companies who have only succeed in these pandemics. Companies like Amazon and companies like, there are multiple cases available to you. So if we don't think holistically about the organization, that dialogue of digitalization and how it's going to take place, CHROs and head of departments, they have to invoke. They don't have to wait IT to invoke these dialogues. They have to get into the board of directors meeting in their MENCOM, and they need to talk about it, that we need to assess what we are doing today, what we are doing to our people tomorrow, and how we are going to make our people competitive towards our corporate objectives, because that situation, it's if you want to become an entrepreneur, this is the time to open your company. Because in my opinion, what times are coming up, these are exciting times, and if you don't prepare for it, if you still resist for change to your mindset here, the thing is, things are going to be here and people will take things to a different direction. It's time to never become millionaires and multi-millionaires, and in time to the next 5 years is the era of entrepreneurs. So guys, let's invoke the discussion for digitalization in your boardroom. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of people, I'm sure, when you move to the cloud, had the mindset of, what is this idiot doing? The thing is, and let's be simple, they probably, the majority of people did, otherwise they'd have been with you. They would have been...
My picture is in many companies at their gate. So next time you see this guy comes, says 20 people, no, 4 people. So the thing is, whenever you find this next guy, don't let him in, because all the time we are in Pakistan there is a concept of easy approach. We want to do the easy approach at the cost of the company. We want to save jobs rather than being efficient. So the thing is, that phenomena makes me move away from all cost saving approach, because wherever I go I say save cost and be comparative. And the thing is, we want to save jobs. So the thing is, it's a contradictory concept. So my name is posted in many companies' gates. So you find this tall guy, don't let him in. Otherwise, you will be sacked too.
Okay.
Well, being a finance guy as well, I actually say, be focused on the money. Money tells you lots of answers. But like anything else, my impression is you were looking at the curve. You were following the curve. There were far better people than you and I out there already ahead of the curve. These are the guys, the Steve Jobs of this world, which were already designing the curve, and we need to be getting on it. So, yeah, thank you for that. And if we ever get into this digital transformation, I'll be the first one to come and talk to you and say, I'm going to take your picture and put it up on a lot more gates. So, Shoaib, final comments? We're running a little over time, and we haven't had any audience participation.
One liner. So taking forward from the Faisal that mobile has replaced and everything. I think the future will be that there will be a chip in the human, and HR manager has to take it out or place it in the new employee or leaving employee. So maybe that all information should be in the chip. But on the other side, I will again focus on human. I will say that we should focus more on human doing, and we should stay being a human being. And these are and we should focus on our values, and that's the way forward. And yeah, that's one liner from me. So focusing rather on human doing, we should focus on human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shoaib. Thank you very much all to the contributors. We didn't scratch the surface. We went a lot deeper. I'm sure people that are listening in have got an awful lot of value from each and every one of you. So thank you for that.
Nerval, we have a question from one of our participants.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
So
You're the...
who says that there's Umar Zafar. He says that what type of leadership will organizations look for after COVID-19?
What type of leadership?
Yeah, that the organizations will look for after COVID-19.
I'm going to go to Shakir, if you don't mind, and then Shoaib, because Shakir is he's the practitioner out there. He's the student, if you like. What do you think? I think we've covered this one, but let's...
Yeah, exactly. I think this has been answered. This has been answered in many ways, that what leadership style is, the ethical and more people-centric leadership we'll be looking for the organization in the new book. Yeah.
I think it's really the CHRO will be the CEO.
I can also
Oh, Samia, you're back.
I can also take this question.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
I'm to your internet connection. So I would say that, leading with empathy, and everybody has very well summed it up. And with that, I would also say that I think going back to basics is also very important. When I say going back to basics, that means what is required in the short term, what is required in the long term.
Samia is absolutely right. We need to go back to basics. We need to treat humans as human beings. We need to have ethical leadership. We need to have our mind on the balance sheet, because you can't spend more than you haven't got, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, we lost you, Samia, for a moment. But we were on the... Well, I think, yeah, we've lost you again. We're on the same track. I'm just conscious of time.
We can come back to the question. Meanwhile, we have another question by Pavan Silval. The participant asks, Sir, I still want to know if such crisis exists for long. Do we need to be more dependent on IT professionals? And is the future of techno HR professional and the new growth of HR for the professionals?
So we're looking at, I mean, the thing is, the crisis isn't over.
So,
we're still in the pandemic.
What I can infer from the question, the participant is trying to ask.
Who would like to quickly respond to that one? Ruth, go ahead.
I believe I covered this earlier, that IT is still there, but it's more of understanding how to connect the dots, and what kind of infrastructure we need to keep available as and when required, and it should be just plug and play. So IT will always be important, and was important and will stay important, but it's how to use that IT that is important, and HR professionals should know what are the options available and how to use them. So this is what I feel.
And I think that Faisal made the point of, we need, I think it was Faisal, but we were talking about HR were focused on biometrics and things like that. We need to shift that arena. We need to shift it into more practical, effective, efficient programs that we can lock into, and HR need to own them. This is probably a transformation that HR didn't really want. That doesn't mean to say you have to be an IT professional to understand what the IT group are providing for you. But you do need to know what you're asking for. This word communication is really important.
Nerval, I really want to add something over here. So whenever diversity. So you see, we have three kinds of generations working for our organizations. That's baby boomers, Generation Y, Generation Z. So speaking about Generation Y and Generation Z, these are tech savvy. We don't really need to, the HR doesn't, and organizations doesn't have to work really hard on them to make them tech savvy. Whereas the baby boomers, they are really fighting with the technology. So right now in this COVID, when we got really dependent on IT, in my organization itself, we had to keep, since I am also somehow linked with learning and development, my team had to work with the IT to make sure that people in our organization who are a bit senior, they are apt on webinars. They know how to run WebEx. They know how to run it on their mobile, how to download applications. So right now, I think we all being HR professionals, we really need to work onto that generation, and we have to make sure they are they are as tech savvy as the organization or the times require. So I think we need to work on that era as well. And I think that's how somehow each one of you were also adding the same in the conversations and whatever you said.
Excellent, and don't fear it. I'm a baby boomer. I've never feared technology in my life, so I embrace it. I can't say that I can put a PC together, but I can certainly turn it on and I can use the packages. It's the relevant knowledge that you need to be able to do your job. And I see you're all smiling there, so you've all had some of experience. But have we got any further questions?
No, not right now. Those were the only two.
Fantastic. Well, you've been such a great panel. I'm surprised there are any questions at all, actually, but I think we probably covered the questions anyway. So my thanks to you all. My one request of you, all of these great things that we've mentioned today means that one thing really has to change, and that's the education system. So all of these young people that are coming through, these young HR professionals, these potential CHROs, these young finance professionals that now need to embrace empathy, ethical leadership, our education system needs to start to teach it. Because the younger we teach it, the quicker we're going to get here. So if I can reach out to you all and ask you to do your little bit and just put a little pressure on all of those institutes, universities, establishments to say, please change because the world has changed.
Yes.
Thank you so much for all of your contributions today. It's a delight to meet you all. I didn't know any of you before. I now know all of you like friends. So we'll be in touch in the future. Handing back to our illustrious hosts. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now just hand it back to the hosts.
Thank you everyone for this wonderful discussion. We discussed very important strategies, very important policies, very important points which can be taken back to different organizations for reformulation of their HR strategies, and especially the new role of CHRO, the new role of HR head is very important to understand. That we can understand that collectively we can say he has to be tech savvy. He needs to understand technology implementation in HR domain. It's not required that he should be an IT person, but he should able to understand that HR must adopt technology to keep the employees engaged, happy, successful, and more productive at the workplace. Then as CHRO, he has to be more people oriented. He needs to take care that all employees working in the organization are healthy, happy, and also their families are engaged and they are not facing any kind of issues. This is how the HR person has to look at in the new period of life of the employee in the organization, especially after post-COVID. The third main thing which we discussed today is that we have to ensure that we are more empathic towards the employees and also their families. And the fourth thing which we understand that it's a global issue. It's not only issue of Pakistan, it's not issue of any specific country, it's a global issue. So everybody is going through this same process, same issue, same problem, and we have to help each other, we have to collaborate with each other, and we have to offer any kind of help which we can. And this is all which I understood from all this very important panel discussion today. And I'm very glad that everybody participated very effectively and very in a very good manner. So I'm very much thankful to all of you for taking time out. These 90 minutes were very important minutes, and we discussed very important things. I'm thankful to all of you. And with this, we can close this session today. And I should say thanks a lot, especially to Neville for his excellent moderation, and also to all the panel members for excellent knowledge sharing. And Samya, despite of all the technical hitches and glitches, she managed to come back again and again. And again, congratulations.
I would have loved to, but sorry. And thanks to you, and thanks to each one of you, because I love to make connections. So pleasure to be here, and feel free to connect with me through social media. Always happy to have these connections.
Inshallah. And with this, thank you very much, and Pakistan Zindabad. Love.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe. Be well.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Stay safe and don't stay home, please. Do stay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.